I am Tamika Lodge Fenton.
I am Brittany Henderson.
Today we'll be exploring a topic from the City and Guilds mathematics curriculum, conversion between common fraction, decimal fraction, and percentages.
Let's get into the lesson today.
Sure. All right. So just a little recap. What is a fraction? A fraction is a number that represents a part of a whole that has been divided into equal parts. So 8/10, what does that mean? We have a whole, it's been divided into 10 equal parts, and 8 of those parts are shaded. So 8 shaded parts of 10 total parts. What fraction would represent the shaded part, the unshaded part of the whole? So we can see from the diagram, 2 parts are unshaded. Therefore, 2/10 represents the unshaded portion of this whole.
All right, so here we have half of a pizza. One way of representing half of a pizza numerically would have been 1 out of 2 parts, so it's 1/2. Are there any other possible ways of representing this amount of pizza in relation to the whole? We could represent it as a decimal. We could also represent it as a percentage. So we could represent it as a decimal, 0.5, and as a percentage as 50%. So therefore, a half is the same as 0.5 is the same as 50%.
Awesome. So let's look at converting fractions to decimals. 8/10. Now what does that mean? 8/10. Remember we said a fraction is a part of a whole. So if we were to look at, so that means 8/10 is less than 1. So if we represent our whole on a number line, and we have 0 to 1, looking at 8/10, that means my whole would have been divided into 10 equal parts. And let's do that. So it's 0.1, 0.2. Let's hope my parts are even enough or equal enough. And 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9, and then 1. Where would 8/10 fall on my number line? It would be here. It is 8 parts out of my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 parts. And if you look now at our place value that is on the screen, our place value chart, we can see that it can be represented using a decimal point where 8 is in the 10th place on our place value chart. The decimal point allows us to write whole numbers and numbers with fractional component using a consistent form. So as you can see, 8/10 is not yet 1. However, if we were to say add 0.2 more to it, it would now become 1.
So let's look at 55 hundredths. What does this actually mean? So here we have 55 parts being considered out of 100 parts. So if we look at the diagram on the screen, we have 55 parts shaded out of our 100 part grid. This could also be seen as 50 100ths plus 5 100ths. Another way of looking at our 50 100ths would have been 5 groups of 10 100ths. So 5 groups of 10 100ths is equivalent to, so 10 100ths is 1/10. So 5 groups of 5 groups of 10 100ths is the same as 5 tenths. So when we go to our place value charts, if we were supposed to represent 55 100th on our place value chart, we would have 5 tenths and 5 hundredths. So if you notice, we normally write 0 and 0.55. It is actually 5 tenths plus 5 hundredths. A key thing to note is that our place value chart, if we look at our place value charts, we know that whole number place values increase by powers of 10,
Right.
and our decimal place values decrease by powers of 10. So it is 1/10, 100th, so on, so
Okay.
forth.
So let us do a little more excuse me, converting fractions to decimal. We have 1/5 is equivalent to 2/10. Now we would have done equivalent fractions, and your 1/5 would have been looking at dividing your number line into 5 equal parts. So if we did it in, what we did in a while ago, 10 equal parts. So let's look at it this way. So we've now placed it into 5 equal parts. So if we were to go 1, 1, 2, 1/5, so it's 1 part would have been, oh, this maybe not the best representation, would it? Because it should line up with here, which is 2/10. So this is 2/10 here, it's fine. So our 1/5 would be equivalent to 2/10.
Now, remember that we're using the place value system, or place value system,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
And remember that in order to use our place value system, we're using powers of tenths.
Correct.
So we would have to rewrite our fifths as tenths.
Okay.
So 1/5 is the same as 2/10. And if it is that we were placing this on our place value chart, it would have been... Oh.
Yes, so we'd have it as 2/10,
Which is 0.2.
which is 0.2.
There you go.
As Brittany rightfully said, we remember that our number system is in relation to powers of 10. So we increase by power of 10 as the whole numbers increase, and we decrease as we look at the fractional proportion of it. So 0.7 would be 7/10 of the whole. A percentage means for every 100 or out of 100. Hence, a fraction with a denominator of 100 can be written as a percentage using the symbol as seen on the screen. 51 100th, that is 51 per 100. Example, if we have 51% of the population at ABC High School are males, that means
for every 100 persons, 51 of them are males, right?
correct. 55% of the whole is shaded. What this means is that the whole is divided into 100 parts and 55 out of the 100 is shaded. A car cost £10,000. Mary saved £4,000. What percentage of the money to purchase the car has Mary saved? Let's look at that on the board. So Mary has how much out of the money? Brittany, she managed to save what?
£4,000.
All right.
The car costs £10,000.
So she would need her total, her whole, would be £10,000. Pounds I don't look too right there. All right, so she has £4,000 out of the £10,000. What is the question asking? What
percentage of the money to purchase the car does Mary save?
All right,
so how
so
much
it
has
is-
she saved so far?
She has saved £4,000 out of 10,000 of the 100%. So let us find out now. So we have 4,000 out of the 10,000. We can factor out 1,000 out of the 4,000 and 10,000 to write 1, an equivalent fraction, and to simplify this fraction. So 10,000 divided by 4. So we would rewrite this fraction as 4/10. So she has 4/10 of 100, which would work out to be 40%. So Mary would have had 4,000 out of the 10,000 that she wants to have to purchase the car. It is the total amount would have been the 100%. She would have had 4/10 of the 100%, which is equivalent or can be represented as a percentage as 40%.
All right, so let's look at this City and Guilds question. 10.5% is expressed as a fraction in its simplest form. We have 10.5%. Now, as a fraction, what does this mean? Here we have 10 100ths plus we have a fractional part here. So we have 5/10 of 100
Right.
parts. Now we need to now simplify our fractions. So let's go. It is going to be 10 100ths plus 5 1,000. We need to form equivalent fractions. As you noticed before, we have one fraction having a whole of
100.
and another fraction having a whole of
1,000.
1,000. So we now need to form equivalent fractions with the same out of the same quantity.
Right.
So 10 100ths is the same as saying 100 1,000 plus 5 1,000. Now that our wholes are the same, can we add?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so we're going to add our numerators. I hope you remember that term from the last class, numerators.
Right, which is our top value.
Our top value. So in this case, it is going to be 100 plus 5, which would be
105.
105. So it's 105
Out of the same
1,000.
whole, right?
Now, does 105 and 1,000 have any common factors?
Oh, so we're looking at factors because we want to see if this can be simplified.
Because we're simplifying.
Okay.
So we're forming an equivalent fraction
And I think 5.
that is smaller than 105 over 100.
1,000.
1,000, sorry. So we can divide each portion, our numerator and our denominator, by
The same.
the same value, which would be 5.
5.
So 5 100s. How many 5s can I get from 105?
So we can get 2 from the 10 and 1. So 21.
21. How many 5s are in 1,000?
Let's see. 200.
200. So 10.5% as a fraction in its simplest form is simply 21 200ths.
How do I know that is the simplest form, though?
Let's check again.
Okay.
So, does 21 and 200 have any common factors?
Let's see. 2. Can 2 go into... Can I factor out 2 out of 21? No, it won't work. 3, no.
Okay, so since 21 and 200 have no common factors,
It is
the simplest form.
Awesome. Let us look at the question now. So it is what is 0.35 as a fraction? So we know it's 35 hundredth that we're looking at. It's pretty much explained there. So we can probably move to the screen now. All right. So we have what is 0.35? Remember that number line that we looked at? So 0.35 is still a fraction of 1, and it is actually 35 hundredth of the whole. Good.
Please.
So That means our 3 would have been 3/10 and 5/100. Now, remember that we said that each place value either increases or decreases by 10. So if we're going to the left, you would need 10/100 to make 1/10. So that means this is 35/100 or 3/10 and 5/100.
Yes.
Good. What did I ask? In the simplest form. So let us look for a factor. So we're going to factor out a common factor I was going to say a while ago.
Yes, because we're doing what? What are we doing?
We're forming equivalent fractions.
Amen.
So let us look for a common factor. And this look like 5. Can that work?
I believe so.
Okay. So 35, after factoring out 5, we would get
7.
7. And after factoring out 5 out of 100,
20.
20. And from inspection, I'm not seeing a factor between 7 and 20. So I think we've reached our simplest form.
Yes, I think that's it.
Okay, awesome. Now, let's look at another question.
Sure.
What if you went to the store and you were given some vouchers?
Okay.
So you're paying for something, it costs $96. Hope you've seen that, guys. I hope you've been following and found this very useful. So we have, is it $96? Now the vouchers you got were $40 off,
Okay.
1/3 off. Now that you're a pro and you know how to convert between decimals and fractions, this will be easy for you. A 1/4 off, and what the other voucher was 40% off. Which one would you choose, Brittany? Which of these voucher would you want to take? And how would you figure out?
I don't know, I don't know. How could I figure out which one of them gives me the best deal?
That's what you're pretty much asking.
So, show me how.
Okay, so we can look at this one and see that this is $40 off. So pretty much we need to figure out if any of these is more than $40.
Okay.
All right, so we know some things about fraction. So 1/3 and a 1/4 off. Can we determine which one of these is the largest portion?
How?
All right, so if it's 1/3, that means our whole is divided into
3 parts.
So this is our whole. This is our whole. We have 1. Boy, that don't look like a good division in a Brittany. We have 3 parts. So that's my 1/3.
Okay.
So remember now it's the $96. I could work it out, So, but let's look at it pictorially first. So that means this is 1, 2. All right, that kind of look off. But you kind of get what I'm saying. So my 1/3 seemed to be larger than my 1/4.
Oh.
So that means my 1/3 would give me a greater value off. I could also go 1/3 off the amount of money that I am going to be paying or that the item costs. So 1/3, 3. If I were to divide this into 3 equal parts, I would get 32.
32.
That look like 32, right? So
Yes.
so my discount would be $32.
Yes.
If I were to look at it as a 1/4 off, 96, it would mean that I would have to divide my 96 into 4 equal parts.
That is
And
correct.
that would be 4. 4 into 2. Right away, I see that it's less, but just work it out. So that's $24.
Okay.
So I don't want the 1/4. Because, see there, $40 is there. So cross out my 1/4. $32, that is even less than 40. So I no longer want that. 40%. What does that look like?
40% of 96?
How do we write that 40% as a fraction?
Go ahead.
So 40% is out of, we had said it, percentage is out of 100 or per 100,
Per
right?
100, yes.
So 40 hundredth of $96, right?
Okay.
All right. I'm going to write an equivalent fraction for this that has smaller values in the numerator and the denominator.
Okay.
So let me look for a factor. 20 seems to be the highest common factor here.
Okay.
I could start with 5 or 2 though, but I'm going to use the highest common factor, which is 20. So 20 into 40 goes 2 times, 20 into 100 goes 5 times. So pretty much I'm trying to figure out what is 2/5 of $96. All right. No. So if I were to divide 96 into 5 equal parts, I would get 1. 1 into 9, right? And I think 4. So it would be $19.40. Right. However, I have 2/5. Therefore, I must multiply that. That is 38.8. So it would be $38.88 or $80 or 80 cents. 80 cents. We are dealing with $1. So now looking back at my offers, $40 seemed to be the best option. So see, understanding how to find a fractional part of a whole made me choose the best option.
That's all the time we have for today's lesson.